Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Fuck Fine, the podcast where we believe in living life authentically and unapologetically and on our own terms. It has been a minute, since I've recorded an episode, and it's been a really hot minute since I've had a guest on, but this one, you guys, this is good. This is going to be good stuff, because the second she and I chatted, it was like we'd known each other for a million years, and it's been great. Today's episode is actually a follow-up to an episode we recorded for Daphne Allwine's podcast, Don't Fucking Shrink. So if you want to hear how we got to where we are today, go check that episode out on her podcast on all the regular platforms. Daphne comes to us from her niches in the fitness industry, but I think we align on everything. I'm not part of the fitness industry is what I'm saying. However,
we all are. Yeah.
Yeah. So super excited to have this conversation, and we're going to call this part 2. So last week, I just want to give you a little precursor to how we got here. Last week, Daphne and I hopped on and recorded an incredible episode. We kind of started talking about values, and that sort of morphed itself into using your values as you're dating when you're sort of past your 20s and 30s. We'll just leave it at that, which I don't know if I was expecting it to go there, but I was here for it and I loved every second of it. So
same.
She got some feedback from her followers about taking this a step deeper, a step further. And so Daphne, I'm going to let you extend the introduction of yourself if you want to add anything, and then kind of give us a little bit of background in terms of what that feedback was and where we're headed today.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. Thank you for getting back together with me. Clearly the universe needs us together again. So we're here. We're here to support that. We had such a amazing chemistry, and we just hit the tip of the iceberg on that conversation about not choosing fine and not feeling like fine is enough. And also we dipped into a little bit to what the dating pool looks like in 2025. And I think that actually sparked a number of conversations that I've had with people who have viewed the show and have said, okay, thanks for being honest. Uh-huh. What do I do specifically about my situation? And of course, in that moment, that requires a little more sussing out, of course, but the same sort of things reign true. And in the episode, and I hope everyone goes back and gets a little piece of it, because Kari had some really great insight, and we talked about values and really breaking down your GPS for what you want. And it just so happened we were talking a little more distinctly about our personal lives, right? Mm-hmm. And our relationships. So what I thought was so impactful, and a lot of the feedback I got was about those personal dynamics. So, why isn't it working with this person? Why am I seeing some of the same patterns? Why didn't this person react the way I wanted them to? And I think that's something we can dig into today a little bit in a grander scope, because you've had some dating experience. I have had prior dating experience, and that distinction is huge. It's huge. One, when you're with the right person.
I'm chuckling because I'm not quite sure on what level the universe thought that we were qualified to be dating coaches, but here we are.
Yes, here we are. This is where we are.
Here we are. I love it.
I think maybe we're not afraid to say it. Maybe that's it. And I think sometimes, I think there is this permission situation where everyone thinks they need a PhD to talk about relationships, but I'm going to tell you, all the value I've ever ascertained from relationships have been learning the hard way,
right?
Or seeing a friend go through something, somebody I knew distinctly. It never helped me to read a book on relationships. It never helped me, watch some celebrity go through a bad romance and I learned from that. That was impactful. It wasn't, because I didn't know the person, right?
We touched on that last week too, right? In terms of just somebody else's answer, like the gurus and the experts and the whatever. Yeah. They don't, their answers and their processes and their methods are probably not going to work for you because your experience is different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other side of that too is who better to help you through this than someone who knows you truthfully, right?
Exactly.
If your family, your friends see a pattern in your life, they're probably the right people to ask.
Yeah, exactly. So the specific question that you got asked or that you brought to me and said, hey, let's do this, was not shrinking yourself to fit into a relationship, right? Which I absolutely love. And, I will only speak to my own firsthand experience, but I've definitely been there, done that. You just mentioned like not learning from the celebrities, but I did see a quote on social media over the weekend regarding our girl Taylor Swift, because she's got all the things happening right now.
Okay.
But it was something to the effect of exactly what we're going to talk about today. So it was just kind of a nice little segue in my brain of like, for all the crap that she's been through and all the, public breakups we've all seen,
Yep.
She went and built her own empire first and has now found the partner to complement her
Yep.
in the rest of her journey. And I think that that's what it's really all about, right? She held true to those values that we talked about last week.
Amen. Go ahead. Yep.
And did the things that she wanted to do.
Preach.
And then said, hey, now I found you and you can come along for the ride.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And this is where we were talking about before. You're like, 30s look a lot different than 20s when you are desperately, I don't know if you've watched any of these reality shows where people are trying to like meet and date in their 20s.
I do. It's actually one of my guilty pleasures.
Oh my God. True. Please don't watch Love is Blind.
We do.
Nick Lachey, obviously.
My sister and I watch it religiously. We've got plans to start. There's a new season. We're going to watch it.
Same. I'll give my feedback on that one. But it's funny because you see all the mistakes you made in your 20s right there, right? Like part of the guilty pleasure, let's call it what it is,
yes,
is that you see a version of yourself in those characters, in those mistakes,
right,
in those cringy sort of moments. You either are like, no.
Yeah.
Like, stop crying. She doesn't owe you anything. You know,
Right.
those sort of things, right? Yes. Don't watch the season 9. Not yet. So what do we pull from that is like, it is so different. In your 20s, you are absolutely making mistakes and you are, let's call it what it is. You are using each other to make mistakes, right? Anybody, the people I dated in my 20s, I made a lot of mistakes and I probably would have not swiped right on myself in that context, right? But at 40, like easy swipe, because it's like you said with Taylor Swift. I know myself. Mm-hmm. I know where I'm going, and you are either, ride or die, or you're goodbye.
Right. And I think that is the key right there. You know yourself now. Yeah. Because when I look back to who I was in my 20s, and I definitely made my fair share of mistakes, but I also got married in my 20s. So like they were different mistakes. For right, wrong, or indifferent, that's just where I was and decided that that's what I needed. And to be honest, I didn't know myself in my 20s. This was someone that, we had fun together, and he, for all intents and purposes, he really was my best friend for a lot of years. But I didn't know myself. And when I look back, I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I was like, I definitely wouldn't have married him, not because of who he was, but because when I look at myself now, I'm like, myself now wouldn't have wanted that. No. Right?
So I have red flags about myself now. No, I'm joking back then. Where I'm like, oh, that was a red flag,
1,000%. 1,000%.
I think, yeah. So in heading back to that question, right? Because the questions that we're getting from listeners and things like that are not people in their 20s. These are people in their 40s. These are people in their late 30s, 40s, and they are dating now, not in that blind trying each other out thing. Right. These are people who have, stepchildren, or they have, this is a much different era of dating.
Right. And there's more things to consider, right? There are children to consider, and there are, and I don't know if I have grand advice other than, I think if you see people posting that are in the dating world, and I don't care what generation they're in, they're always talking about making sure you're doing the work, right? I see it all the time in the apps. Like,
Sorry.
I'm looking for a partner who's doing the work. Like,
I left the church for that reason. Go ahead. Like, I'm never done. Go ahead.
but I'd be curious what people think the work is,
Oh, that's a great question. Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because I know what my definition of the work is, and it might be different than their definition of the work. And I'm going to use air quotes around that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people assume it means going to therapy, and I no shame to going to therapy. Yes, that might be
Yeah.
a part of the equation. I think the biggest part is to get self-reflective, and we're going to sound like a broken record, but it's all going to come back to that. Like, really,
Get honest.
who
Get
are
honest.
you, right?
Yeah, get
and
honest.
be honest with yourself first, and you have to know. And I think the second part is you have to be willing to, and this is part of knowing yourself, you have to know what those, and the word boundaries to me, it's important, but I think it gets thrown around in some weird ways sometimes. You have to really know what those hard stops are for you,
Yeah.
and be willing to turn
yeah.
away.
I heard a really good definition of boundaries. So tell me if you're in the same boat.
Okay.
Boundaries are not consequences. I think sometimes when we think about, and whether it's our kids, whether it's relationships, you're like, if you do this thing, I'm out, right? That's not what a boundary is. That is retaliation. That is resentment. That's what, like, you're building something wrong. So if you're in a relationship and you set a boundary, here's our quotation fingers.
Yeah.
If you set a boundary and say, if you do this, John, right, this is the consequence. That's not a boundary. That's a consequence. If you're setting a boundary, it's silent, it's quiet, it is concise. And I mean that in the fact that this is who I am, this is what I'm willing to put up with. And you don't spend a lot of time negotiating with somebody else about what that is. If someone crosses that boundary, you make them aware of it. If the response is anything less than, oh my God, I'm sorry I disrespected you, and I'll never do that again. If it's anything other than that statement, that's not a boundary. That's just you negotiating with your passive aggressive tendencies.
Yeah. I also, to expand that, I fully agree with that definition, and I will expand it to say I heard one time, boundaries aren't for the other person, they're for you. Right? And which
Thank you.
speaks to what you're saying, right? The boundary is for you to know what you're willing to deal with, put up with, like,
Yeah.
what's that circumference around those values,
Yeah.
right? And then, like you said, anything less is negotiation, which
Yeah.
should not be if it's truly part of those values.
Yeah. Disrespect doesn't require a negotiation. Like,
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of the conversations, and maybe this is the problem we're solving today. The problem we're solving is when we are in a relationship and we know it's not working, right? We know that it's not matching. There's something there. We stay in anyway. We try to make it work. We try to keep. Why? Maybe that's the problem we're solving. Like, why do we keep doing that?
Why?
Like,
Yeah.
why do we? Yeah. Different name, different face.
Yeah,
same.
I don't know. That's been my MO, right? That's my repeated issue in relationships is I stay way too long.
Okay. So can I ask the hard question?
Sure.
What's the wound? Who told you that you had to make yourself small? Who told you that you were inconvenient, that you were too loud, too much? Like, where's that wound?
Ah.
Right?
It's, for me personally, it's a pretty big wound that goes all the way back to childhood. And I mean, I know who that is and what caused that. I don't know if calling them out on is probably
Why not? Why not? Who's
scary,
listening?
but,
Yeah.
I
will. Go ahead.
by some male standards, and I'm going to just throw that out there, I am the quintessential woman with daddy issues.
Okay.
Okay. I never really had a consistent father figure, which I think is the first root of that issue for me, right? Like, I stick around because, and I heard this somewhere once, and it really resonated with me that those of us that have that wound and that issue, that father wound, we go seeking that relationship and others, and we try so hard and to hold on to those relationships because we're trying to make up for what we didn't have, right? And
Yeah.
that's not really any big surprise to anybody, but that's a big chunk of where mine comes from. I have some issues with my mother that feed into this.
You were probably validated and even praised if you self-sacrificed all the time. You were always like,
for
"What a
sure.
good girl! She never causes any problems. Wow, she's such a great girl." Like I am very cognizant of when I use the term "good girl" around my daughters, because what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like that. What's my definition of what? Like
I
asking you to self-sabotage?
Yeah, but so this is a little bit of a tangent on that, but to that exact point. One time, my grandmother, who, well, we'll just she's my grandmother through marriage, and something had gone a little bit awry at like a family Christmas or something, and she caught me and pulled me aside, and she goes, "You just really," and she wasn't criticizing me. There was some empathy there of like, "You just really always do what you're supposed to, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really do. I really do." Yeah.
So to me, it sounds like you were validated whenever you stayed small, didn't have any, didn't cause any problems. You were the peacekeeper. If this resonates with you, listeners, please listen, because these wounds start early. This is something that you are praised for. You are, amplified. You have better standing in the family. You get more resources sometimes as a small person if you learn to stay small, if you ask for less, if you are compliant. And you'll know this because somebody tagged you as the good girl.
Right?
Oh, she's the good girl. She's the sweetheart. She's so quiet. She never causes any problems.
It's funny that you're saying that. My brain is kind of going 90 miles an hour, but as a small child, that was definitely the case. Like the smaller I was, the quieter I was, as I got older, I would say people around me who maybe had similar backgrounds, who found a way to get loud and use their voice, actually ended up getting more of like the resources that you're talking about.
Squeaky wheel. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
And I remember for a long time being so resentful of that because I was like,
How dare they?
but they told me, right? They told me that if I was good and I was quiet and I was small,
Yep.
then I would get the things. The problem with being small and being good and being quiet is you don't learn how to ask for the things. Nobody teaches you how to ask for the things, even in a polite way. Like, I'm not even talking about being rebellious and loud and squeaky wheel. I'm just saying nobody ever teaches you.
It's selfish. Why would you ask for anything for yourself? Why would you ask for anybody's attention? That is selfish.
Yes. And God forbid you're actually in a relationship and you ask them to, change anything about them, or if you maintain that boundary, or again, selfish, right? Or disrespectful. Like I have a really hard time with that word just because it got thrown at me a lot if I were to say something remotely like asking for something that I needed or challenging of something.
Yep.
It was literally that specific word. It is a little triggering for me.
Yep. That's true, right?
So yeah, I think for me, so carrying that into what we kind of were originally talking about, as I'm trying to navigate this world of dating, and for those of you listening, let's be clear, I'm not doing this hardcore. This is like I log into the apps for a few weeks and then I get annoyed and then I log out and then I whatever.
But this is you doing the work, right? This conversation is you doing that work, right?
No, I just lost my train of thought now. It really, as I'm navigating all of this, it's learning how to use your voice to say what you need. And again, that goes back to that self-reflection. Like, you really have to know what you need, and then you have to be willing to not get what you think you want in order to preserve that, right? So if you're asking someone for something and they're not willing to give it to you, you have to be willing to walk away, and you have to be your first and most important relationship. And I don't think people think about that a lot in terms of you have an actual relationship with yourself, and how are you
Yeah.
nurturing that first? And it's not just self-care like we see posted on social media. It's not just journaling. It's not just therapy. Like, it's all those things.
Yeah.
But if you're not creating and maintaining and holding boundaries for yourself, if you're not willing to make sacrifices for yourself, if you, like, you have to be your own first relationship. And dare I say, even above your kids.
Yeah. You probably notice, and other people will associate with this. You and I talked about values on my show. I think that's one of those really big things, right? And again, if you have not done your values chart, please go do that
Go do
for
it.
yourself. That first things first, don't log back onto your dating app at all this week
Yes.
until you've done those values. Don't waste your time. You are
1000%.
literally wasting your time by not assessing this. So
1000%.
do your values. I know that you said that family is one of your values. And part of family is that loyalty, that dynamic of loyalty and peacekeeping and keeping everybody together, right? But here's the thing. Loyalty is one of those words, again, that gets thrown around, right? So I have had really dynamic conversations with clients who describe themselves as incredibly loyal, especially if they happen to be a Capricorn like I am. They're like, I am so loyal to my people. I am so loyal. And I was like, great. Why aren't you loyal to yourself?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there's like always a dramatic pause and probably some tears sometimes. But the truth is, like, if your number one, like you said, if your number one relationship is not to yourself, to those boundaries, loyalty to yourself, you cannot have a relationship that's productive with another human being. Like, I'm going to say it out loud. If you're being pulled, people pleasing in 30 different directions, and the energy of your day is being spent pleasing your parents, pleasing your coworkers, pleasing your kids, and you forgot that very important loyalty piece to yourself. And I'm not talking painting your nails or taking yourself to the spa. I'm talking like, someone mistreated me, and I'm going to have a moment to really process that, because I deserve to not have that person in my circle anymore, or welcome anybody like that in my circle.
And I will say, the key word I think that you use, because I'm guessing there are some listeners that are saying, but my kids. Let me tell you this. My kids know that I am the 3 a.m. ride or die. No questions asked. We're burying the body. We're doing the damn thing together. However,
Yeah.
the key word that you used is pleasing them. Pleasing is not loyalty. That's where the rub is for people, right? Like,
That's not true.
loyalty,
honest.
right? Loyalty is earned, and it's reciprocal.
Yeah.
Like, my kids know so I have 2 children that are mine, and they each have a partner. So our little crew of 5,
Yeah.
we are truly loyal to each other. But we don't please each other in a way that is sacrificial or detrimental to ourselves. And to have that genuine loyalty requires clear communication. And it stems back to, again, those values. Like, I have to be able to look at my oldest, or any of them really, and just say, you know what, you said that and it kind of stung.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have an open conversation about it. And that's going to reinforce the loyalty. But you have to have that for yourself first.
Amen.
And
yeah.
then that inner circle that you just referenced, like, there's an earned spot at that table.
Yeah. And if you have something to say, and take 60 seconds, like, fill in your body. Where is that thing coming from that you need to say or you need to be with? Because the truth is, if you're in a relationship with anybody, and I mean the milkman, whatever it is, if you're in a relationship with anybody and you are keeping the peace to keep something together, 1, it's not worth it, right? And 2, passive is poison. Okay. We think we're saving the world by sucking it down and, like I like to say, swallowing the grenade, right? But guess who that's killing? Right? Passive is poison. So if you have to say it, say it. And the other thing is, we also, angry women are not popular. And the time you and I grew up, right? An angry woman, right, was somebody that, you avoided, and we all have Karens or whatever in our life. But, the truth, that's that's a passive aggressive level I'm never hope to aspire to. But here's the thing. Anger is the biggest barometer for what is important to you. If you are angry, right, about a situation, if I use the word triggered, whatever, if you are angry about a situation, instead of going off on the pharmacy counter person, what you need to do is appreciate that anger is coming from somewhere and get real deep on what is it? Am I not being heard? Am I being abandoned? Do not swallow the anger. You don't have to explode on anybody else, right? You don't have to explode the grenade. But if you're angry, you need to get to the root of that anger, Does it go back to what we were talking about before, where like the peacekeepers had to just keep swallowing those things? Like, what are you angry about? Yep. That's the best barometer you're ever going to have. It's the anger is the version of yourself that loves you the most and wants to protect you. If anger comes up in your world, that is the most loyal version of yourself.
Oh my gosh. I got goosebumps from that. I love that. That is
okay.
So true. So true.
I love having these conversations. Yeah. I love having these conversations that we're just taught, we're conditioned. We're told that this is the way to be, right? Because it's convenient for other people.
The permission I want to give the listeners is you have to first name it as anger.
Heck yeah. Start with anger.
But we're not going to want to, right? Because we've been, again, conditioned and taught like, don't do that. Don't get,
Yeah.
Just name it, even just to yourself. Like, that hurts nobody, but you have to name it. And there are physiological things that happen in your brain when you keep repeating that anger rather than voicing it.
Amen.
Right?
Yes.
Like cortisol levels shift, and like there's actual brain chemistry happening, especially when you're reliving the same angry moment.
Oh, yeah. And if I can even speak, because this is my world.
Like this is your world.
I was going to say, the physiology piece of this is exactly where the executive coaching goes for me. It's like repetitions, right? If you keep wiring the same way and you don't have these breakthrough moments like you and I are talking to, where you take an opportunity to rewire your brain and do repetitions to the opposite, that's your pattern. That's your body composition now. Whether it doesn't show up on beach season, but your brain composition is no different than your body composition. When we're doing exercises to fuel different components of the body, your brain works the exact same way. That's why I love coaching in tandem, because what you do repetitions of is the way you look, right? Is the way you proceed.
Yeah. 1,000%. Oh, good stuff.
I know. It was like,
I love
this. I hope that answers a question that, at least one of the questions that we were digging into.
What else did
is
you mention at the beginning though? There was you had a few.
There was some great feedback. But a lot of it came to patterns, right? Like, why do I keep meeting the same guy? Why can't I meet the right person? And I think this is that jump, right? This is that whole, why am I doing the same thing? Well, because you're doing repetitions of the same thing. You're showing up as the same person, and you're not clear. You are not clear.
Exactly.
You are not clear about what you want or who you are. So, yeah, of course, asking for anything in a relationship when you're not sure that's actually what you want,
right,
is not going to work, right?
Right. And it's two sides. You're not clear on what you want in a partner. Yep. Or in my case, I don't even know if I'm clear if I even want a partner. Like, I'm super wishy-washy about it, in the fact of like, yeah, sure, if someone comes along, great. That's not serving me really, other than it's giving me the permission to like be a little more discerning with who I, meet and talk to. But even that wishy-washiness, like that's not serving me if I really wanted to find a partner.
Right.
I
Right. No,
would
that's a
really
great way
have
to
to
put
get
that.
serious about that and admit that,
Yeah.
you know?
The fun part in all this is there really just comes down to the fundamentals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we talked about that big thing of just like not people pleasing, which is, you know, like you said, doing the work. That's the big thing is like, who conditioned me to believe that people pleasing was the way into a positive relationship? Because it's not. I don't care. Yeah, you might have longevity in your relationship. Like maybe you've been married for 50 years, but if you've never actually been honest about what you need, you're basically a prisoner in a situation and you're too afraid to leave, you know,
And
because what would, you know, fear is one of those things that traps us.
right.
But if you actually want peace in your relationships, right? Like if peace is, you're a peacemaker, right?
Yeah.
Peace is something you want in your existence. You can't tiptoe around the bombs, right? That's not a strategy, right?
No.
So if let's say you have a tumultuous relationship with your mom or maybe, you know, your current spouse or whatever the case may be, you have to be willing to walk through that fire and negotiate your way out, right?
Yeah.
And at the very least, know where this thing's going to end, right?
Right.
Be willing to know that walking through the fire with the intent to negotiate your way out is the only way. Because if you tiptoe around the bombs, you just keep finding more bombs.
Right. And that like that kind of goes back to what you said, like that's how you stay loyal to yourself.
Yes.
Is like
Yeah.
being brave enough to just go through that and
Yeah.
know that you're there for yourself. You have to just trust. And I think that, I mean, that becomes another conversation of just that deeper sense of knowing you can rely on yourself. I think
Yeah.
some of us, you know, again, through conditioning or whatever circumstances we've been through, we don't necessarily trust ourselves.
True.
Right. And so
Very
we're
true.
looking for that. I know part of my story is that I have looked not just for validation from others, like that's a whole thing, but like I've looked for those ride or die people
Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
of myself.
Okay.
You
So a
have,
version of yourself, right?
you
Like
have to
just sort of
be that for
yeah.
yourself, and you have to trust that you're that person for yourself.
Yeah. Would you say you are?
I'm getting there.
Okay. Yeah.
getting there.
And maybe that's the graduation, right? Maybe that's the conversation we're having with listeners is doing the work could just mean graduating to a place where you are your safe person. You are the most loyal person to yourself. And I don't mean that in like a aggressive way, but in all sincerity, if you are sick, you're not in the best health, if you are in the wrong work situation, if you are in relationships that don't match and mirror how you deserve to be treated, you got to, before anything else, you got to show up loyal to yourself in those situations. And I promise you, how do I say this nicely? People will learn quickly. If they want to be in your life, if they genuinely want to be in your life, they will learn quickly, right? But if they don't, if they fall away,
Yes.
it is also meant to be. And it's also
It
you
is.
trusting yourself.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean like, yes, it's sad. Yes, it's hard. I'm not going to pretend that walking through all the mines is easy, right? All the bombs.
No.
It's not
Nope.
easy. But at the end of the day, when you get to the other side, you know you're at the other side rather than to your point, Daphne, of like, you just skirting around them. You don't know if you've made it through,
No.
right?
No,
So you
there
don't
still
know
might
if
be
there's
more.
another one coming, but
That's, yeah. So can I ask you a hard question?
you can, but hang on. You froze there for a second.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
ask me a hard question.
So, you've talked about dating and relationships and, in the past. What do you need from a partner? If you could ask anything, because this person doesn't exist yet, we're building them straight out of the box.
Building them straight out of the box.
What do
huh?
you need?
I
Don't hold back.
I know. I think
Yeah.
first and foremost, I need someone to value just my authentic me,
Okay.
right? Like
Yep.
I've just sort of discovered her. She's pretty freaking incredible.
Yep.
And I'm not going to box her back up. So I need someone that's just going to look at all of my weirdness, when I'm doing my everything shower on the full moon, because that's part of my little witchy spiritual.
Do it. Do it.
I'm going to do that. And when I've got
Yeah.
my bowl of crystals over there, and at the same time, I'm going to get the tattoos and listening to rock, like, I need
Yeah.
someone to just love my eclectic, quirky self.
And they don't have to join in, right?
No, just let
That's
me
the
do
other
my
side.
thing and love me anyways.
Do not judge me. Number one, you don't
Yes.
want to be judged, right?
Correct.
I can totally agree that that was something that in order to feel safe in any relationship, you have to know you're not being judged,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
All right. That doesn't seem like a big ask.
I don't think so either.
Okay. Give me number two.
I mean, this is a little bit cliche, but it's sort of that, like, they're my, okay, I'm going to quote little Miss Taylor Swift again. In one of her new songs, she says,
Get
like,
it.
it's your best friend who you also think is hot.
That helps, right? Yep.
Right?
And we know, because you've been married too, like
Yeah.
hot is different at every age, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't mean that. I love my
Just say
husband.
it.
He's amazing. He's hot to this day to me. And that's not, but like, it's more that like I appreciate him on different levels every single day, like how he shows up. And it wasn't just as superficial as it was back in our 20s, right? Like superficial back in our 20s is looking at the person's aesthetics, right?
Yeah, they're physical.
How you got along, if you were having fun, and then, the ability to scale our living, right? Our lifestyle together, right? Like, are we compatible that way? And I think that sounds really superficial, and a lot of relationships don't make it out because some person evolves, the other person doesn't. But finding that attraction, like, means something so different in our 40s than it did in our 20s, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what's attractive in your 50s, late 40s?
I think that same confidence that you and I
Okay.
are talking about. Just
Confidence.
having that confidence
Yes.
to also be your own weird, quirky self. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you want to, whatever.
Okay.
I think for me, it's a little, I don't want to call it old school, but a little
Okay.
bit more traditional. I have spent so much of my life being the strong, independent one, right? Doing it all on my own.
Yep.
That I would love someone who's, maybe this is where the confidence comes in, someone who is confident enough to let me just melt at the end of a really bad day.
Yep.
Who knows that, yeah, I'm probably going to get the toolbox out and fix the things by myself, but who says, you know what, I know you can do that, but here, let me do that for you.
Yep.
I think I would lose my mind. I don't know that I would lose my mind.
All right. So Match.com, I don't know which one you're on. It's pretty straightforward, right? Like they're an aesthetic connection is important, right?
Yeah.
If you hate blue eyes, please don't pick a blue eye person, right? Or whatever it is, right? But at the very basis, like, you're asking for someone to not judge you, to feel safe with them, right? Give me third.
I mean, on an aesthetic level, if we're really
Yeah.
going to go there, I think
Yeah, do it.
I really, give me a hoodie and a backwards baseball cap every day of the week.
Okay, you don't want pageantry. You don't want, right? You need somebody who, well, that plays back into your confidence, right? Like somebody who
Yeah.
also shows up authentically as themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
know when it's appropriate, like, obviously, but like, if like going out, like if we're going to something fancy, yeah, go ahead and put a
Yeah. Can you, yeah.
sweater or suit
Can you
on,
comb
but,
your
yeah.
hair? Can you
Right. Like,
shave
keep
and
yourself groomed.
wash your hair at the moon, right? Yeah. Yeah.
But like, a hoodie and a baseball cap backwards.
Hey, okay. Okay. When you go on the apps later this week, if you ever do again, does that make it easier? Like, because when
It
you're
does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like how this, yes, to translate for your listeners, I think like you said earlier, go do the value sheet for
Do the
sure.
values,
And
yeah.
I don't care if you use the Brene Brown one that we talked about last week, or if you go find a different one, but go, excuse me, get really clear on like 3 fundamental values.
For you, not
For
for what you
you.
want, who you are.
Yeah, who
we'll
you
say
are.
that. Go ahead.
And then, just get really clear on what you're looking for. And know that that person's probably out there. And if they're not, that's okay too.
Yeah. But you have to be that person for yourself,
You have to
right?
be that person for,
You can't judge yourself,
Right?
right? You have to feel safe in your own space.
Yes.
You have to feel authentic in no matter what you're wearing, right? Once you have that,
I'm wearing my
you look awesome. Oh my God. Yeah, it was good.
hoodie. I don't know what you want.
But this is what I mean. And I also joke that like I wear athleisure wear all day long, not just because it's part of my work, but also like when you have small kids, like you're in sport all the time. Like
Yeah,
I'm in
that's all.
sport mode all the time.
1000%,
Someone was like,
1000%.
"Do you ever come out of there?" No.
No.
Sometimes not even for bed. Like 'cause I need to be able to get up and chase somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whoever calls me. I think this is the work. Like when people gave feedback and we're really curious about like what does that look like and what can I do to move forward? Their answers are pretty basic. And again, because we said we don't know everyone's single situation, but if you are feeding into the idea that you know what your values are, right? And it doesn't exist around things that you think like bank accounts and blah, 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 blah.
Right?
Those are all circumstantial. And watch any reality show and you'll know what I mean. But the truth of the matter is, if you have to change yourself even a little bit to date somebody, it's already wrong.
And you
right?
will know.
It's already wrong.
You will know. And people say, "Oh, I didn't see it coming." You did. I'm gonna let me hold your hand when I say this. You did. You didn't want to see it, or you didn't want to believe it, because you were afraid that it would end. And I say that from firsthand experience. I knew in my last long-term relationship, very early on, that this probably wasn't going to work, and I stuck around for 11 years.
Can I say something on that? We were told to believe that conflict killed connection. And that's not true. Conflict is where we get into the details and where we really find who we are and if we align, right?
Yes.
And I don't mean conflict like we don't need to call the protective services, but like I mean in the way that like if you are comfortable, if you feel safe to speak your truth or be yourself around somebody, even in conflict, right? You don't agree about something, that's a real relationship, right? If you have to shrink, if you have to change your perspective to bolster someone's ego or make them feel better or to keep the relationship going, it's the wrong relationship. And the first time that happens, the first time someone gaslights you, stifles you, their ego pops up in the conversation and you back down, you need to leave.
Right.
You need to leave.
Right. Because, and here's what happened. I mean, my own story is like the first time or two it happened, I was like, oh, it's fine. It's because it's new and I'm not comfortable because it's new. And you start rationalizing. My gut was screaming and I'm not, it was screaming at me.
Yep.
And not because he was a bad person, not because he
You can talk yourself out of anything, right? Yeah.
He's a wonderful person. It wasn't the right relationship. I wasn't comfortable, whether it was I wasn't the version of myself I needed to be or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't comfortable speaking up and having those hard conversations.
Why?
I just wasn't. I mean, in retrospect, I just think I was afraid that I was really sort of enamored with our story, which is a long, that's a whole other episode by itself. I was enamored with our story and I thought, well, okay, I'm going to make this work at all costs. And at the cost of me being me. No shame to him, not his fault, but that's what I did. But like I said, my gut was screaming. I knew. And yet I stayed and I was quiet. And things were fine. We didn't really have any issues. And to this day, when I tell you, when we ended, there wasn't even really a conversation. It was just more of like, this is done now, isn't it? Like that was there wasn't even about any conflict or it was just like, that was it.
Wow.
All because it wasn't the right relationship to have those hard conversations.
Yeah. I think we say fine so much. I think we say we're fine, we're fine, we're fine until we realize that we don't even know what fine feels like anymore. We don't know what good feels like. We don't know what connection feels like, right? Because there's, maybe this is a lie we were sold, but like we think that in order to feel complete as a person, we require another person. And I'm not talking about community. I'm not talking about community like where we, interact and ask for support and, are allowed to be ourselves. Like we are like conditioned to believe that in order to be a complete person, a legitimate person, we need to be validated by the association of someone else. And, that's same sex, different sex, whatever, like
Having a partner, just period.
having a partner. Right. And I'm going to tell you there's so many variations out there, but I mean, in the state that if you get to a point where you realize that you don't require partnership and that you are just as valid as a human and you don't have a gaping hole, there's nothing wrong with you if you don't have a partner. Maybe that's one of the first things you come to before you start looking for it in somebody else, because it's not somebody else's job to make you happy. Right. I know. We're looking for Prince Charming. We're looking for someone to fill our holes and fill our gaps and, peel back our scars and heal our wounds.
That's not their job.
You want to talk about selfish, right? Like, let's talk about selfish.
That's not fair. That's not their job.
No, selfish is you expecting somebody to fill those gaps, to heal those things for you. That's selfish. If I'm being honest, that's the only selfish I can think of.
Mic drop. Because it really is. And if you think about it, a lot of the relationships, again, whether they're familial or partners or friends or whatever, a lot of your relationships that, I shouldn't say a lot, some of them, my guess, the ones that really wounded you, it's because you were being asked to fill that role for that other person and it wounded you.
Yep.
So don't do that to somebody else. That's not their job.
It's true. That's true. And, it's when a relationship ends, here's the other thing. There's always some guilt and there's always like, who's going to blame who? And I was like, it is no one's fault. When something doesn't work, because statistically, it only works 50% of the time at best, right? Like whether it's a marriage ending, whether it's a relationship ending, the statistics are 50-50, right? And even walking into a relationship and putting yourself out there and and building, like it's 50-50. That's just math, right?
Right.
When something ends, it's not I'm a bad person, I'm not good enough. And I think as women, sometimes we walk away with those wounds when something isn't right. I promise you that guy is not spiraling about like, what's wrong with me? Why couldn't I make it work? Right? As women, we need to also say to ourselves, it just didn't work. Right? And be okay to say it didn't work. And the only thing that you can like gain from that experience is saying, what wasn't I clear on? Or what wasn't aligned with that relationship? And hopefully it was boundaries, but yeah, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. 1000%. I would suggest to people too, ladies, if you're on the apps, kick a few to the curb really early. Because it's a little bit of a self-esteem booster for the right reasons. Like, don't do it just to do it. Right. But for real, you start to realize like a lot of the things that you were just saying start to come to light where you're like, it gives you those opportunities. So I'm not
trust
saying
your
like
gut. Yeah,
exactly.
Look at a picture.
You started building that trust in yourself, that loyalty in yourself. That's a great exercise, by the way. If you are going to be what better way, right? If you are going to be swiping, look at that person and for non-superficial reasons, right? Look at them. And if there's something that flags you in their story, in their bio, whatever it is, just trust your gut that that's not right, right? Don't try to make it work. Exactly. I had an actual example of this just a week or so ago. Yeah. I had started chatting with a guy, and I think it's a little funny. Sometimes the things you think are green flags are the ones that turn into red flags. But we were chatting and I was struggling to understand some of his communication style. Okay. And I kept asking for clarification. And every time I did, I felt a little like, I don't know, like I was being demanding.
Yep.
And then he said something to the effect of, "Oh, well, I guess we'll just have to see." And I was like, "Oh," no, like it felt very like I was going to have to be proving myself.
Okay.
And I was like,
Yeah.
"No, we're not going there." And so I just said, "You know what? Thanks, but no thanks. We're done." So,
Right. What better use of your time in that moment where you
right?
recognize the misalignment?
Yeah.
Neither of you were clear about what was going on,
Yeah,
right?
it was just, it was weird. It was difficult to communicate, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And communication style, maturity more than anything else, but communication, right, is the very foundation of every relationship,
Yeah.
right?
And
Like,
even if you don't have the same communication style, being willing to, again, have those hard conversations to get that clarity when you're not understanding.
can I tell you one of the biggest hurdles that like I faced?
Yeah.
There is this proponent where if someone doesn't like you asking them questions because they instantly take that as an offense, right? As opposed to you just getting clear and like,
Right.
help me understand this. When they become evasive or they start turning it on you, like, why do you need to know? Blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I don't have to answer to you. There's a wound in them somewhere, right?
Right.
When they are flashing red to you, right? If they are at this stage, if you don't know somebody and they're getting defensive about your questions,
Right.
right? There's a respectful way to do that, right? There's just a, hey, that's really personal to me. I'd like to know you a little better before I tell you that, right?
Yeah.
Or you know, because that's a respectful way to answer it. But to do the other way and sort of like, who do you think you are asking me questions, kind of thing, tells me there's something under the surface that they don't
Exactly.
feel comfortable with, or maybe isn't true,
Right. Yeah. There's
right?
that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah.
It's a whole new world. It's a brave new world.
It is.
But I think it's no different than it ever was, right? This is not a different game. It's just a different
It's
platform.
not. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same game, just in different arenas, right? With online and on apps, and but being
can
on
hi- you
apps
can
is no different
hide.
than
You
going
can
out to the
hide a little
bars and the
better.
pubs like we used to.
That's right. I was gonna say
It's the
you can
same.
hide. You know, back when they were like, you know, a rich uncle and I have a Ferrari parked outside somewhere, right? Whatever it was, right? Whatever falsehood or fairy tale you were being told by somebody you just met, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than online, and the fact that they're giving you the best version and maybe the inflated version of who they are and what they've done and that sort of thing, because it's an advertising campaign, right? Like,
It is.
it's no different than meeting people in person. I think the only difference is volume right now, right? Accessibility and volume. I think that's the new terrain that people are up against. Is you don't know how many people they're talking to. You don't know how authentic what they're saying is, or if they got it from Chat GPT,
You
right?
know what's funny is those
Go
things
ahead.
don't ever cross my mind.
What do you mean?
It never crosses my mind. I'm like, I wonder if he's chatting with like 500 other women. I don't, my brain doesn't go there.
That's just your confidence, right? Where you're like, even if he is,
Yeah.
I'm far more fascinating.
Right.
No, right? Like,
I
he'd
guess
be a
I don't know.
fool.
I
Yeah.
don't think of it, but I don't know. If he is,
Yeah.
great, more power to him, and he'll find his person.
That's right. And that's the thing. And that speaks to your confidence and the fact that like you're not waiting to be picked.
No.
Right? No. I think that's the other thing is, you know, depending on what age you are or what perspective you are in life about like needing someone in your life, like yeah, it's fun for holiday parties. It's fun for weddings, but I have to tell you, like the other 300 plus days of the year, it's a lot of work to be in a relationship, right? Especially, right? Like,
Yeah, I say this all the time. Like,
yeah,
90, I maybe even said it on our last episode on your podcast, but 99 days out of 100,
yeah,
I am perfectly content coming home by myself.
that's profound. Like that's
Me and my
that's a
plant,
powerful thing to say.
Literally,
Yeah,
me, my plants, my tiny little space. I am perfectly content 99 days out of 100.
yeah,
There's that
okay,
one day, like you said, maybe a holiday party, maybe a family event, that
yeah,
one really bad day that you have when you just want to curl up and have somebody kind of hold you and make it go away a little bit.
yeah,
Yes, I have those.
yeah.
The other 99 days,
Yeah. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Just, it's really interesting that you say it that way. Cause I was just like, it really speaks to your why. It really speaks to your, how are you going to make my life better?
Exactly. And I think that's the other
Right.
thing, right? You need to have that discernment. Like that person is there to enhance your life, not complete it.
And not vice versa too. Let me be very clear on this. And this does speak to some of the requests and feedback I got from our last show is that every time there's ever been a piece where someone asked me a question about like, why is it with this person? And that's what it was because the truth is that you are filling their holes. You're filling their gaps. You're showing up for them inauthentically some ways,
Right.
right? And then you're becoming resentful about it, right?
Exactly.
So you're showing up, pretending to be this version of yourself that you're not, giving away energy that you don't have, right? And then when they don't reciprocate, you're passive aggressive about it, or you're hurt, or you're telling yourself a different story. If you just show up very clear that you are who you are, right? And authentically, I'm going to support you as me, not give away the bank, not pretend to be somebody else, not pacify you if you happen to be a little less mature emotionally. You are who you are. See people for who they are,
Yes.
right? Don't dilute yourself. And don't give away energy you don't have or that you don't feel like you could give away to anybody.
Right. Right. I think that's a beautiful way to end this because that.
I was going to
that
say,
is
I was
perfect.
like,
yes.
yeah,
You just wrapped that up in a nice little bow for us.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And we'll do it again.
We will do it again. Audience, this is going to become a regular thing, I think, because we enjoy chatting with each other so much. So,
Yes.
like I said at the beginning, if you want the precursor to this episode, go check out Daphne's podcast, Don't Fucking Shrink. She's amazing. Otherwise, I will see you all in my next episode. Thanks,
Kari.
Daphne.